Welcome to Inktober sessions. Hi guys, welcome to my Inktober series. So anyone who is part of the artist community, online artist community, knows about Inktober. If you don't know what Inktober is, let me tell you. It's this monthly challenge where every day you have a different prompt during the 31 days of October to create ink illustrations. It was created by Jake Parker, and you can find more information here online. I will link down below. He was the one that started the idea of Inktober, I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me down below. But anyways, so it can be kind of daunting to create 31 original ink illustrations if you're not used to that type of pace of work. Even for me, I've been trying for years to complete an Inktober and I've never been able to finish one. I get to maybe like the 20, 21, 25 mark and then I'm burnt out. So what I've been doing for the last 2 years is I start a bit earlier of thinking of an idea of how I want to do it. Last year I did a series of illustrations with friends. I also created some journey cards and then some random kind of fall-y type of illustrations. This year I am creating all ink on paper illustrations with a crow. So there's a crow in all of my illustrations. So I wanted to tie it in and create like a, not really a story. I don't know, I'll have to look back at the illustrations to see what I find. But so I thought what we could do is whenever I sit down to paint, you guys can join me and maybe we can motivate each other to keep it on and progress through Inktober. So grab your supplies, pause, and let's start. All right, guys, so this is my little sketchbook that I am always going to be illustrating my Inktober creations. So the prompt word for this video is haunted. The first Inktober illustration that I did was on the iPad, but this one is the first ink illustration. So I usually start out with one of my B pencils. This is the Royal Talon 12 collection of graphite pencils. And I'm either using the 2B or the 3B. I like to use B mainly because they're just softer. I prefer that. And I actually enjoy seeing some of the markings of pencils come through the ink illustration. So, haunted. Okay, what am I supposed to think? The first thing that comes to mind is a haunted house. So I look for a house that's kind of solitary in a field, and that way I can really easily incorporate my crow. So I open up Pinterest. This is where I find all of my reference pictures that I can, use as an aid. I try not to draw them exactly as they are unless I'm doing a study. So with here, I start with the crow. I want to place it somewhere in, the front foreground, and I want it to be like the main character or the main subject of this illustration. And the crow is going to be looking at this haunted house. Now, while I am drawing this, I'm also looking at a crow reference that I found on Pinterest, and I noticed that crows tend to have bluey, orangey, brown tint to them. They're not solid black. And this is a crow, not a raven, that I'm drawing. And then their beaks are very black. And it looks like the feathers really start to poke out and overlap the beak quite a bit. And of course, since this is a small sketchbook, these illustrations do not take very long, and it also helps to take the pressure off. If it tends to happen with me that when I'm presented with a very large surface area that I'm going to be drawing on, I can get very overwhelmed. I think, oh my God, I need to fill all this space with things. What am I going to do? And then what if I mess it up? While in a sketchbook, the pressure is really taken off of me and I'm able to just create. Because it's just a sketchbook, who cares? So Here I'm just really trying to decide which parts of the crow that I want to appear in this frame. Of course, not the whole thing fits. I do want it to be really like up close and personal so you can actually see the crow. And then I go on to creating the house. So I'm not going to be speeding up any of these Inktober videos that I'm creating because I think that way we can actually draw together. Usually they run around 30 minutes. And with this one, actually, I had my youngest son who's 2.5, and he was sitting next to me and he was drawing as well with his, I let him use the Eco line markers. He really loves using materials that he sees me use. And, you know, I'm fine with him using these markers. It's quite all right. And so he was drawing with his markers and I was sitting next to him and drawing the raven. So it was just a really nice moment to sit with my kids, because sometimes my daughter also comes and sits with me to draw. She loves doing that as well. And it becomes like a family activity. And that way, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to be impossible for me to find the moment where I can sit down and draw for Inktober, just give some art supplies to your kids, and just see how far you can get along. I mean, it could just be a pencil illustration and then you just add a bit of an ink wash over it, you know? There's really no pressure. This should be fun. And it also is a really good excuse and, I don't know, like set challenge so that you can improve your drawing skills. I mean, I'm the type of person that I need that homework, that authority figure to really push me to do things. I'm more of, you know, in-person classwork type thing. That's why, you know, learning on my own can be kind of difficult. But so having these prompt lists with the words and then also knowing that there are people online that are following the same challenge really motivates me, because there are more people than just me. And also creating these videos, I think will be a huge help with motivating me to create all these Inktober illustrations. So really just try it. Let's see how it goes, you know? I know as a mom, it can be really difficult to find that time to be creative. But I mean, okay, let's think. With the word haunted, so many things can happen. It could be like, I don't know, you could do more of an art therapy type of thing. And what haunts you? Like what gives you nightmares? What's one of the worst memories? Like, how does it feel to be haunted? You could just play with colors on a page and create an abstract painting of the feeling of being haunted. Or it could be the classic, you know, ghost. You could draw a ghost. What would a ghost look like? What would it feel to be a ghost? You could just draw, you know, a black image with, you know, those little auras, lights appearing of being in a haunted space. It could be haunted woods, a haunted tree. That's the beauty of having prompt words, that pretty much anything can come to mind. It's like just haunted. And then what's the first thing that comes to mind? And then draw that. Even if you draw it poorly, just draw it. Like, I'm not the best at drawing houses. As you can see here, I keep on going back and forth and I try to fix it. And my houses tend to look more like comic-y children book type houses. I remember when I was in a drawing class at the university and we had to go out on campus, which was quite large. This was at USF in Tampa. And we had to just sit somewhere and draw a building. And so I went inside the Marshall Center, which is like this, I don't know, it was like this community center where they had the bookshop and they had a cafeteria and they had cafe and a study area. And they had this newer addition that they had built, and it was a circular building. Well, that was a wrong choice for me, because first, a structure with all these straight, perfect lines, which really goes against me as how I draw. I do not draw with perfect lines. And then a spherical building. I mean, that is like, no, that was a nightmare. But either way, I tried my best. But it was at that moment that I realized
architectural illustrations and drawings are not my thing. I prefer people and animals and plants, anything that can breathe air. But still, I have fun when I know that I'm not expected to create a perfect building. And since this house was haunted, I knew it was okay if it looked old and decrepit and forgotten. So yeah, so here I'm just creating some of the texture of the roof and a bit of an outline of the wooden frame that the house has. I try to create as much as I can with the pencil because, as I said, I like to leave that behind, and I overlay it with the Pentel ink brush. But once I have a good general drawing, I will grab my little plastic palette where I always put ink on. And as you can see, I have a lot of colored inks. I have a Winsor Newton black ink on my desk. All the other Winsor Newton inks that I had were all old, dried out. They really smell. They were really, really yuck. I didn't know that inks could really go bad. But of course they can. So here I am actually using my gray Sennelier brush pen. I just squirted out on the palette so that I can get different intensities of the color. And with ink, for my taste, I prefer to do wet on wet because otherwise you get these marks of where the ink dries out. Otherwise, you can use a water brush, which continuously gives a flow of water, and that way it doesn't really leave those marks if you want a very solid, even, flat layer of color. And here I'm also adding some blue. I'm adding a bit of black to it so it's more muted. And then, because I like to have a little undertone of color, as I said, crows do not only have black, they have different shines and tints to their feathers. I see a lot of blue and a lot of like sepia to them. Oops, sorry for that shot. I was really in the moment, so I wasn't paying attention to where the camera was. But now I'll just leave you with a little bit of Halloweeny autumn music to give you a bit more inspiration. And then we'll chat at the end. All right, guys. Well, that was Inktober number 2, Haunted. I would love to see what you created with this prompt. Please tag me on Instagram if you post it. And I hope you join me for the next video. Take care, guys, and let's enjoy this lovely fall season. Bye.